Good morning, good morning, good morning. This is Robert here again. And this is Thursday, March 21st, 2019. And we are reading The Greatest Miracle in the World by Og Mandino. And we have already read chapters 1 through 5, so we're on chapter 6 now. And I will continue to read from here. Let me just reset my glasses just a little bit here. Okay. Chapter 6. I surprised him with a gift on his 79th birthday. The shock that I had remembered the exact date. November 13th, from one of our very first conversations together, almost did the old boy in. I detest shopping, but I had spent 2 torturous Saturdays searching for something unique and relevant to buy Mr. Simon. I finally found it in Marshall Fields at Woodfield, an Italian cast glass geranium plant. It stood nearly 2 feet tall, with coloring and leafing so natural that unless one touched it, there was no way to know that it hadn't been grown and planted in the fuzziest of greenhouses. Simon owned a window box, the only one hanging outside had any apartment window on the entire lighted block. He said he had built and hung it soon after he had moved in, and each year he would haul it in and carefully paint it with fresh green paint. Also, each spring he would put countless seedling geranium plants in his favorite flower in that box, and they would always struggle their way skyward, then turn ugly shades of yellow and lavender, and finally wither and die. Last year he told me he tried to change his luck by waiting until early summer and buying plants already full grown and in bloom. 2 weeks later they were brown and dead. Still, he never gave up. He already had a new strain picked out and a seed catalog that he looked forward to trying next spring. The old man insisted he had never lost a geranium in either his Damascus or his Saskatoon gardens. Once he went into a long description of how he would dig his favorite plants before frost came and hang them in his basements to dry, and then replant them in the spring. One of his earliest successes at helping living things to start new lives, he chuckled. Some of his geraniums had been more than 20 years old, but not in Chicago. Simon blamed it on the pollution. Now, how can anything survive in this rain of death from above and from the gasoline monsters on the street? Look outside, Mr. Og. It is a full moon tonight. Can you see it? No. We are engulfed in our own refuge. We bathe in it. We breathe it. We eat it. Even the water that I pour on my plants contains chemicals that would kill a cockroach. Today only the plants and birds die. Tomorrow, who knows? Still, I have faith that eventually I shall grow a geranium that the human race will awake in time to prevent their world from becoming a giant junk pile. It's going to take an army of rag pickers to accomplish that, Simon. In order for this planet to survive, each human must eventually become his own rag picker. He must not depend on his neighbor for salvation. Believe me, Mr. Og, this will come to pass. They had gift wrapped the glass plant for me at the fields with one of their most extravagant papers, and when he opened the door, I placed a large gold box in his hands and just said, "Happy birthday, old friend." He took the box, mouth open, speechless. Then large tears popped from the corners of his each eye and ran down deep wrinkles on both cheeks. He placed the box carefully on the floor and hugged me. Finally, he placed one giant hand on each side of my face and kissed me on the forehead. "Mr. Og, this is the first birthday present I have received in 35 years. How did you know the day?" "Oh, you let it slip one night." "Open the box." "I cannot. It is too magnificent to open. The paper is so lovely. It should not be torn." "It's only paper. Go ahead, open it." Simon lowered his huge frame onto the rug and drew the large box toward him so that one long leg was on each side of it. First, he carefully united the ribbon and gently removed it. Then he slid his fingers under the paper wherever he came in contact with sealing tape and slowly peeled away the wrapping to eventually uncover a large brown cardboard box. Then he took out his pocket knife, cut the glued strips across the top, and moved back the corner flaps. He looked inside and frowned. Then he began to remove the yards of tissue paper which had been packed tightly around the plant. Savoring each moment with the kind of childish excitement and anticipation that one usually sees only at Christmas, at last he reached in and tenderly removed his gift of glass from the carton. A geranium. I cannot believe it. A pelargonium of the highest class. A shower flower. A blue ribbon aristocrat. Even if I have ever seen one, and it's not real. God. It's made of glass, Mr. Og. Where did you find such an incredible work of art? And look at the crimson of its blooms. Once in Jerusalem, I saw a geranium with this same iridescent glow. I tried to purchase it from its owner, but did not succeed. Such a gift, such an expensive gift, Mr. Og. What can I say? Don't say anything, Simon. I'm happy that it pleases you. It's only a small token of love and thanks for all the hours of wisdom and hope you have shared with me. Happy birthday. And may you have 79 more. By now he was on his feet, carrying the plant from place to place, searching for the ideal spot to display it. He set it on the coffee table, stepped back, studied it for several minutes, shook his head, and removed it. Then he tried it on top of the television set. No. Then the end table behind the pictures of his family. Better, but still no. Watching him fuss and move his gift from place to place, I suddenly had an inspiration. Simon, there is really only one perfect spot for that geranium. He paused reluctantly, as if I were spoiling his fun. Where, Mr. Og? Well, it's made of glass, so the pollution won't hurt it. Why not plant it outside in your window box? Who else in this entire city will have a red geranium in their window box blooming its heart out in November through December and January and every other month of the year? That is a stroke of genius, Mr. Og, and it can stand out there to bid you good morning each day as you drive into the parking lot. I shall do it, but you must perform the honors. Honors? What do you mean? You must plan it for me. Wait, wait, I'll get my towel. And as soon as the two of us had planted our $95 glass geranium, we wrestled with the ice-struck living room window until it grudgingly moved upward, and while cold blasts of premature winter winds nearly took my breath away, I leaned out and chipped a hole in the almost frozen black dirt in the window box. Simon handed me the plant, and I buried the pot, covering it with sand so that the only plant that showed. Then we stepped back to admire our landscaping as the warm light from the living room reflected off the plant's petals. It is beautiful. It is very special, Simon shouted. Now I have my geranium at last. You see, he who perseveres, never fails. Who but you would find such a present? It's for my favorite rag picker, that's all. Then we drank a toast, sherry of course, to his 79th years, and as we sat, I could see that he was fighting to keep his emotions under control. His lips were quivering slightly, and his eyes were half shut. I wondered what memory he was submerged in, but I kept still. Finally, he shook his head as if to clear it and said, "Nothing is more disgraceful than an old man should have nothing to show to prove that he has lived long except his years." I know who said that. Seneca, right? Mr. Og, you are too smart to be only 50 years old. But you have much to show for your years, Simon. Just considering only those and these years you have lived as a rag picker with all those people you have helped. Yes, my angels from the dump. I loved each one of them. They are my tickets to heaven, my passport to Alicia and Eric. Simon, I like Henry Ford's remark about growing old better than Seneca's. Yes, Ford said that if you took all the experiences and judgments of people over 50 out of the world, there wouldn't be enough brains and talent left to run it. But Mr. Og, Ford did not say that until after he had passed the age of 50. And then, of course, there was the saying of the 18th century German humorist, Richard Ryder. You know it? I know you told me. Go ahead. Ryder said, like a morning dream, life becomes more and more bright and longer the longer we live. And the reason of everything appears more clear. What has puzzled us before seems less mysterious, and the crooked paths look straighter as we approach the end. As if drawn by some giant magnetic force, I suddenly rose from my chair, went over to Simon, and sat at his feet. I looked up into his beautiful face and said, "The God memorandum. I think I'm ready for it. I would consider it an honor and a privilege for you to give it to me, and I promise you that I'll do everything in my power to deliver it to the world. I can think of no time in our history when we have needed it more." The old man sighed softly, a look of almost overwhelming relief on his face. "I was afraid you had rejected my offer, or, as the months passed, had even forgotten it. Your acceptance is a greater gift than ever my geranium. Still, I have had second thoughts about my offer since I made it to you." "You mean you've changed your mind, Simon?" "No, no, not that. Only concerned that people may not take its message seriously, Mr. Hogg, since it is so unsophisticated, brief, and basic. In these days, it seems that the more complicated, high sounding, and expensive one makes self help instruction, the more people are attracted to it. While they tend to put down those such as Dale Carnegie, Aretha Brandon, Napoleon Hill, Norman Vincent Peale, and even your W. Clement Stone, who offers simple but workable solutions to life's problems. Furthermore, it is one thing to advise and counsel an individual in the flesh prior to introducing him to or her to it. The God memorandum, because the power of your personality hopefully adds credence to your gift. It is quite another matter for words on paper with no preliminary personal mind conditioning, or to be forceful enough to motivate the reader into action. Simon, there will always be a small group of detractors, long on education and short on experience, ready to accuse you of offering pap and simplistic solutions to what they classify as extremely complicated problems, usually requiring 5 years of therapy at $50 a weekly visit. Yet I would like $1 for every human had been inspired and helped, truly helped, by reading Carnegie, Pearl's, Brands Hill, Stone, and many others without ever meeting the authors, including Mandino. I'd join that group any day they'd have me, Simon. Do you still want to multiply yourself? Do you still want to help thousands instead of only a handful? Of course. Well, there are two ingredients necessary for the gold memorandum. To become a success, first, there must be a need for it, and then it must have a showcase that will assure its wide distribution to those who need it. I remember that Lillian Roth, in her book, I'll Cry Tomorrow, wrote that she had been unable to rescue herself from her own living death, alcoholism, until she finally learned to say the three most difficult words she had ever uttered. Those words were, "I need help." You told me yourself that the best time to help people was when they had lost all hope and had no one left to turn to for the support. Simon, If you listen, you can almost hear a chorus of millions from every neighborhood and statue and profession in the world crying for help. The need for your message right now is so great that we'll probably never be able to fill it as well as we would like. Rich or poor, black or white, beautiful or ugly, crowded or lonely, they all need help. There are millions who believe that their life, has been not heaven, but hell on earth. Simon had cocked his head and was hanging on my words as I usually hung on his. His made no reply, and so I continued. The second ingredient to assure success is that the memorandum have the proper showcase and distribution. I haven't even read it yet, but I promise you this. I will make the God memorandum a part of my next book, and I will also write about you. And I will call the book The Greatest Miracle in the World. Well, show the world how to perform that miracle, how to recycle their own lives and come back from their living deaths. You would do that for me, for you, of course, but also for all those human beings who want a chance to live and don't even realize it's still theirs for the taking. Suddenly, his booming laugh filled the apartment. Mr. Og, as I recall from my presidential days, most memorandums have carbon copies going to various individuals or departments within an organization. The God memorandum should be carbon the world with it. Why not? We've got 4 billion workers in this company of ours, all struggling for a promotion to a better life, or willing to struggle if they know how. Let's give them all a chance to put off the greatest miracle in the world. And when that happens, we'll have our heavens right here. We'll show them how, Mr. Og. We'll show them how. Simon, as usual, when I'm with you, I lose track of time. I must run. May I take the memorandum to read over the weekend? His almost imperceptible hesitation would have gone unnoticed by anyone else. Not tonight, my friend, but soon, very soon, it will be in your possession. I knew enough not to push him. Okay, good night, old man. Good night, young man. And thank you for a birthday party I shall never forget. You have truly lit a candle for me this night. As I walked under the parking lot gate that he had helped up for me in the snowstorm nearly a year ago, I turned and looked up at his apartment window, and there, silhouetted against the warm light from his living room, swayed the dark outline of Simon's new red geranium. Chapter 7. The thick brown manila envelope rested constantly on my desk on that Monday that I shall never forget. I had been away again on what I had been assured would be the final promotional tour for my book. This jaunt had consumed 2 weeks, 12 flights, 10 cities, 10 strange hotel beds, 10 early wake-up calls, and the same endless series of questions and answers from New Orleans to Montreal. I arrived at the office early, hoping to get an hour's jump on what I expected would be an overflowing in basket. The smell of freshly brewed coffee permitted the place only via Nomaski, who had been coming in early forever and had arrived ahead of me. I picked up the brown envelope and stared at the gentle European script on its front with a combination of horror and panic. In the upper left-hand corner, where one normally puts a return address, were the words, "A farewell gift from an old rag picker." In the center of the envelope was my name and my address. In the upper right-hand corner, stamps had been affixed, $1.20 worth. They were uncanceled. There was no postmark, and no postmark. I dropped the package and dashed out of the office. Just as I threw open the door leading to the hall, Pack walked in. "Here, welcome back." Smile vanished when she saw the look on my face. "What's the matter?" I grabbed her by her arm and almost pushed her into my office. Then I stopped to pick up the package from where I had dropped it on the carpeting and held it up. "When did we get this?" She took the envelope from my hand, read the message, and shrugged her shoulders. "I don't know. All your mail is on the couch. I've never seen that before. It wasn't here when I locked up on Friday. Must have come this morning by messenger. Maybe." I jerked the phone off its cradle and punched the digits 24. Our subscription department, Barbara Voigt, our subscription manager, didn't even get a chance to welcome me back. "Barbara, please ask Vic to come into my office." Vic was soon standing uncomfortably in my doorway, her pretty cherub-like face registering concern and puzzlement as to why I would want to see her. "Vi, did you open up this morning?" "Yes, I always do." "I know. Did anyone deliver this package to you?" "No." "Did you see any strangers in the hall when you arrived?" "No." "No one was around except Charlie, the janitor." I just fixed the coffee like always, waited until the pot filled, poured myself a cup, and went back across the hall. "Why? What's the matter?" "That's okay, Vi. Never mind, thanks." I tossed the package on my desk, grabbed my topcoat, and ran out of the office. The sidewalk was bringing to turn white from Chicago's first winter snow, and I vaguely remember slipping and falling several times as I ran through the parking lot, across the Winthrop Street into Simon's apartment lobby, and didn't bother to hit the bell, and leaped up the stairs two at a time. When I reached the second floor landing, I turned and began pounding on the door of Simon's apartment. The door finally flew open, and I was staring at a red-faced, plump woman, her hair in pin curls, holding a crying infant. Another young and grubby child was clinging tightly to the woman's faded pink nightrobe. Simon must be involved in another rag-picking mission of mercy, I thought. "Mr. Potter, please." "Who?" "Mr. Potter, the old man. He lives here." "Ain't nobody named Potter here." "What are you talking about? He's lived here for years." "Tell him Og Mandino is here." "Look, Mac, my name is Johnson, and I've lived in this dump for 4 years, and I'm damn well ought to know there ain't nobody named Potter here." She began to close the door, but I stopped it with my arm, and I stepped into the apartment. "Come on, lady. Don't don't play games with me. I've been in this apartment 100 times in the past year. An old man named Simon Potter lives here. Where is he? Before she could answer, my eyes swept the apartment, and I could feel the hair rising at the back of my neck. Nothing was familiar. Our two favorite talk chairs were gone. There were no books piled high along the living room wall. The braided rug had replaced by an ugly checkered orange and blue line. The woman now clutching her child close to her breast, growling, Mac, I give you just 5 seconds to get your ass out of here, and then I'm going to start yelling and call the cops. Who the hell do you think you are breaking into my apartment, you creep? You ought to be in jail or a nut house. Get out of here. I felt weak in my knees. My stomach was flopping. I wanted to vomit. I backed slowly toward the door and raised my hands helplessly. I'm sorry, lady. Maybe I'm in the wrong apartment. Do you know Simon Porter, old man? Dark, very tall, and he has a dog, a basket? There isn't nobody like that in this building. I ought to know. I have been here for 4 years. Next door, that way, a little old Italian lady and her daughter. That way, there, a black man lives all alone. There ain't no guy named Potter here, I tell you. Now scram. I apologized again and stepped out into the hall. The door slammed shut, and I was staring at the red painted numerals with which I had become so familiar. 21. I still felt weak, and so I sat on the stairway trying to collect my thoughts. Where was he? Was I dreaming all this? If so, what a hell of a nightmare I was having. Any moment, I thought, Rod Sterling would walk up the stairs and welcome me to another edition of the Night Gallery. Then an idea. I ran down the stairs past the lobby, down another flight to the basement at the far end. I could see a light and hear the drone of the oil furnace. A slight shadowy figure was leaning back in a chair under the single by fire speck light bulb. Are you the janitor? Yes, sir. Been here long? All night. No, I mean, have you worked here long? Be 11 years in February. Is there a Simon Potter registered as a tenant in this building? Tall man, dark, long hair, beard, looks a little like Abraham Lincoln, has a dog, a basket. We don't allow dogs in the building. Do you know the man I described? No, sir. Have you ever seen the man I've described, either here or outside on the street? No, sir. I know everyone in the building and nearly everyone in the neighborhood. There ain't no such man here, and there ain't been no such man around this block in the past 11 years. I guarantee you that. You're sure? I'm positive. I ran back up the stairs across the street to the parking lot and unlocked my car. Eventually, I was at the Foster Avenue police station, although I still don't remember driving there. I parked my car smack between two blue squad cars and ran into the station. I waited impatiently at the wire window until a young sergeant nodded curly at me. Sergeant, my name is Mandino, and I have a business over on Broadway. Yes, sir. Someone is missing. I had a friend who lived in an apartment at 6353 Withrop Street. I've known him for more than a year. I've been away from my office for a couple of weeks, and when I got back this morning, There was a package on my desk with my name and address and some words in the upper left-hand corner to the effect that it was a farewell gift from him. What was in the package? I don't know. I don't know. As soon as I read that farewell message bit, I ran to his apartment and he wasn't there. Furthermore, the people who were in his apartment said that he had never lived there and they didn't know anyone like the man I was describing. I'm sure you had the right apartment. I've been in it 100 times. Apartment 21. I talked to the janitor of the building. He didn't know anyone by the name of Simon Potter. Said there had never been such a person in the building in the past 11 years that he worked there. No Simon Potter. Are you right, sir? Yes, I'm all right. I'm sober. I'm not nuts. Honest. How the hell could I have made up this kind of crazy story? We've heard crazier. I'll bet you have. What was that guy's name again? Potter. Simon Potter. Almost 80 years old. Dark long hair and a beard. Tall, had a dog, a basket hound. The sergeant lit a cigarette and studied me closely for several seconds. Then he turned without saying another word and went into the back office. Perhaps 15 minutes passed before he returned. We haven't picked up anyone by that name or answering your friend's description in at least the past 3 weeks in this precinct. But this is a big city. Why don't you try Cook County Hospital? Okay. And one other spot. Where? The county morgue down on West Polk. I struck out at the hospital. They were considerate and patient with me and checked back through the records for the past 14 days. No one with Simon's name or fitting Simon's description had been brought in for any sort of treatment. They also suggested I check with the morgue. I went there. They treated me, my story, casually, as if I were someone filing a complaint in a giant department store. They obviously heard similar stories hourly about missing fathers, sons, brothers, sisters, lovers. Methodically, they checked their microfilm files, and one young man finally came forward holding a small clipboard. Sir, we have one unidentified who fits the age and general description. Want to take a look? I nodded and followed him as we walked along the brightly lit, white, antiseptic smelling corridor. He touched my arm and said, don't let the stench get you. They still haven't invented a deodorant to wipe out these smells. Finally, he pushed open a swinging door, and we entered a chilly room with the giant drawers sitting in rows like ghoulish file cabinets. He checked the number on his pad and pulled heavily on one of the drawer handles. I turned my head away, not wanting to look. Finally, I forced myself, and I was staring down at the nude body of a very old man. His long hair wrapped around his face and chest, his eyes still half open. My heart was thumping as I leaned forward to have a better look at this poor, unclaimed, and nameless human who had fallen on his last junk pile. It wasn't Simon. I tried missing persons on South State 0. The snow was still falling as I pulled up to my parking lot. I got out, turned the key, and watched the gate move slowly toward the sky, remembering again the first day in the snow when a stranger, beautiful man, came into my life and held up the world in his bare hands for me. I stepped back into the car, punched the steering wheel with my fist, shifting and slamming the car into a parking place. I must have looked terrible, My own staff people turned away from me as if not to notice my presence. When I re-entered the office, tracking snow across the red carpet of the reception area, as I passed Pat's desk and nodded toward my office, and she rose and followed me. Close the door, hon, and have a seat. She frowned and sat facing me. Her eyes were wide with both fear and concern. My God, Og, what's the matter? I think I must be going crazy, Pat. Now listen to me. You live on Withrow Street, don't you? Yes, about a block down. Every morning when you walk to work, you cut through the parking lot? Yes. Have you ever seen a strange old man around the parking lot? He wears funny old clothes and usually is feeding the pigeons. He has long hair and a beard, and he always has a basset hound with him. Pat thought for a few moments and shook her head. There are usually a few winos hanging around the lot, but no one like that. You've never seen this man. He's very tall and very old. Sometimes he wears a wooden crucifix around his neck. Never. What's the matter, Og? What happened? It's okay, hon. I'll tell you later. Thank you. Oh, hold my calls until I tell you. After she closed the door, I just sat there and tried to collect my thoughts, chasing elusive and immaterial butterflies of irrational images, trying to ignore the pain in my head, and the pit of my stomach was cracking up. Was this now how a nervous breakdown climaxes in the frightening inability to connect one rational thought with another? Is this what all those executive seminars and books warn you will happen if you push your body and mind to limits and beyond, while trying to compress several lines into one in your own mad dash for success? Does the mind finally switch channels on you and force you to participate in a fantasy land of acts and conversations with characters dredged up from some long forgotten childhood storybook? Is this the ultimate escape from pressures and responsibilities growing too big to handle? Was Simon just a dream? Impossible. Still, if Simon was nearly always around the parking lot each morning, why hadn't Pat ever seen him? And what about his apartment? Was somebody playing some sort of macabre joke on me? Yet why had I never discussed him with anybody or anyone? And what about all his lectures? Those priceless hours of inspiration and knowledge and hope. And how about the ragpicker thing? Pulling dropouts from the human race off the junk pile. Showing people how to perform the greatest miracle in the world. Dear God, I couldn't have made all that up in my wildest creative moments. I smacked back to some semblance of sanity when I suddenly realized that I had been turning the brown envelope over and over in my hand. The brown envelope, my only link to the truth, my only link to Simon, my proof that he had really existed. I found myself rubbing the package as if, like some genie's lamp, my touch would cause the old man to reappear. I relaxed a little. If he had sent the package, then I wasn't crazy. Simon existed. Simon, Simon, where the hell are you? Don't do this to me. I don't deserve this from you. I must have been close to the edge of shock as I yelled toward three empty orange chairs that faced me across my desk. Finally, I turned over the brown envelope, ripped it open, the flap, reached in, and removed several sheets of typewritten paper held together with a paper clip. As I did so, a small object rolled from the envelope onto my desk. I picked it up, a tiny safety pin attached to a small piece of white rag measuring approximately half an inch square. I pushed the pin aside. Attached to the paperclip that held the pages was a letter to me in the same handwriting as the envelope. The letter was undated. Chapter 8, which we will read on Saturday. We are getting very close to the end of the mystery of Mr. Simon. I hope those that come and visit me will enjoy this book as much as I am enjoying it. And with that, basically, I can say, it's a beautiful day. It's raining, and I got a lot of things to do today. Got to run here, run there, do this and do that. But don't we all? And I hope and pray that everyone that does come here and see and listen to the writings of the people that have written these great books will enjoy them all the more immensely. I thank you very much. Everybody have a great and fantastic day, and I'll see you on Saturday. And I'm guessing we'll probably finish the book. Thank you, and goodbye, and have a great day. Bye-bye.